The next block is short talks. We will not moderate this a lot. And again, like for the dialogues, we won't have questions and answer sessions. So it will just be one amazing presentation after the other, and you can engage with people during the coffee breaks. So let me hand it over to Jaime for the first presentation.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jaime, and I've been working at the University of Los Andes for over 3 years as a lecturer and a researcher in the Civil and Environmental Engineering department. And how to build peace? Wouldn't we all like to know the answer to this question? And my only and I think valid conclusion in this 10-minute talk is going to be that all areas of knowledge are meant to, the last result of all areas of knowledge is to achieve peace building. And I believe engineering has an important role to play. So specifically, I think that road infrastructure and soil mechanics are a key piece in the puzzle in the peace process. So why is infrastructure so important? Here I'm going to show you a map of road density in Colombia. The dark blue is very densely roads, and the light blue is very low density. If you see the timeline story of Colombian roads, it's basically the same. For over 50 years, we've been having the same road density. This next map, it's a different type of map. Here we can see the displacement, the internal displacement in Colombia. And you can see that the dark blue now represents various areas where we have very high internal displacement. When we compare these two maps, we can see that very low density maybe correlates to displacement. And I know that correlation does not mean causation or causality, however you prefer. But from an engineering perspective, I do believe that infrastructure plays a key factor in a wholesome society. So in our faculty, we've been thinking about this a lot. So how can infrastructure, but specifically low volume roads, help in the peace building? Why is low volume roads so important? Because we've been thinking about highways for a long time, and we're working in it, but there's very little work done in low volume roads. So when we're thinking about roads, should we think in conventional materials such as concrete or asphalt? These are typical materials which are very rigid, very dependable, and they have high resistance. But are they the answer when building low density roads? Well, there's actually a pretty smart idea that just use conventional materials but in a smaller quantity. But this is actually pretty expensive. Just 1 kilometer of these roads can be $250,000. So if you really want to address the issue of density in Colombia, I don't really think conventional materials is the way to go. We can also have the other perspective, which is to improve conventional materials. This is actually a research that we've been working on, which is fractography, which sort of works like forensic engineering. So if you know how a material failed, maybe you can understand it and try to create a better material. But still, for low volume roads, I don't really think they are the solution. So what's the solution for low volume roads? Well, I really believe that's the soil that's under our feet. So let's start digging. And when we dig, we're going to encounter a diverse universe. We're going to find that this material is completely different than this material, and that this material that you have here is different than this material. Here, you can have asphaltite soil. I'm not going to get too technical, but it's from the central region of Colombia, and this is laterite soil. This is an eastern part of Colombia. If you really want to make low-volume roads, the first question that you should want to answer is, wait, what's the soil that I'm going to build on? Is it the same soil that I'm going to build it here in the Andes, or is it going to be completely different if I'm going to build it in Chocó? And if you start answering that question, maybe you can start having some answers. And if you're here new to Colombia, you might as well just start reading 100 Years of Solitude and start from then. And to see how soil mechanics really permeates all society from all areas, I found a very, in my opinion, very interesting quote, and I read. The soil became soft and humid as volcanic ash, and the vegetation became increasingly insidious, and the cries of the birds and the tumult of the monkeys became increasingly distant, and the world became sad forever. So this is realism, magical realism. And there's this part of reality. Yes, in Colombia, we have volcanic ashes, we have soft soils, and we do have issues with humidity. Partial saturation in soils is a key issue. So it's just to show you how important soil mechanics really is. And I know this image is a mouthful. I don't really want you to read all of it, but it's a way we engineers try to understand a problem with system dynamics. And what I really want to show you is that we need road quality. There are 100 reasons why we need road quality. But for achieving road quality, especially in low volume roads, we're going to have to study soil mechanics. But once we have the road, and once we build the road, we need to guarantee the maintenance and operation, because we want to have a lasting piece, a lasting process. And if we start building roads right now, in 30 years, they're going to be, the life cycle will end. All structures have a life cycle. And if we have to start from the beginning, then we're not learning anything at all. So I think that the one solution to this problem is to have an open source soil mechanic database where every time you have an intervention, you have a construction, you have a database that you can put your information in and share it to the public sector, to any stakeholder. So in the soil mechanics perspective, what we should really do is study the washboard effect. The washboard effect is just one of the ways that soils will fail in unbound materials. Why is this so important? Because the way that you're going to build low volume roads, which is without conventional materials, is this way, and the way that it's going to fail is with the washboard effect under partial saturation conditions. So what you really need to do is understand that this soil, which is a laterite soil, will fail differently than any other soil, and just doing the experiments and trying to understand what's happening, maybe you can do a better job making the roads. From the other perspective, we can have the open source soil mechanics database. This is a database that we have been developing with some students, and any of you can just enter in our website and share the information in the world, just soil mechanics information. So if you have information from Bichada and you want to share it to the world, you can just plug in the coordinates and put all the information that you have in soil mechanics. I think this is paramount in a wholesome society. If you start sharing information and you don't have to repeat every 30 years the same process that you've been doing all over again, I really believe that that's the way we should start thinking engineering, especially in the BIS building process. So how to build peace? Well, we're going to see that there's many ways to answer this question. But for my perspective, I think that soil mechanics has something to say about it, especially if you want to study the washboard effect and if you want to study how open source soil mechanics database can contribute it. And as all areas of knowledge will help, I will help myself with a Colombian novelist who said, this poor country is not even known by its own children, not even known by its own geographers. I might add that it's very little known by its civil engineers or soil mechanic engineers. And if we really want to make peace, I would start looking to the soil that's under our feet. Thank you.